Are you wondering what's really going on in the Phoenix housing market in September of 2023? Whether you already live here or you're planning a move, thinking about relocating to Phoenix, that's exactly what we're going to cover in today's video. So let's get started. So the first thing that we have to talk about is interest rates and where they're at, because that is one of the biggest factors in our market right now. So let's pull up current interest rates and see where we're at. Okay, so here's where today's rates are at September 7th. So 30-year fixed is sitting right at 7.29%. 15-year fixed is 6.67. The 30-year jumbo is at 7.33. FHA, which is the most affordable option right now as far as interest rate goes, is at 6.77, and VA is just a little bit higher at 6.8. So, let's just do this little mortgage calculator here. Let me get rid of this so that we can kind of get an idea. The median home price here in Phoenix Metro is about $450,000. So let's just look at what that payment does for you, right? A 30-year fixed payment, we're looking at, $3,000 a month. So these volatile interest rates is causing a lot of trepidation with buyers right now. There's a lot of buyers that can't afford a $450,000 house for $3,000 a month. So that is causing a lot of hesitation. It's causing a lot of buyers to really sit down and analyze if it makes sense to make a move. And since money costs so much more right now just with interest rates, that's what is driving demand in a lot of cases. So there are options for you if you want to buy. There's typically resale, and then there's new construction. And new construction is where the deals are at right now. That's where a lot of the inventory is. And a lot of sellers can't or won't compete with some of the incentives that the builders lenders are offering, such as fixed interest rates for the life of your loan. Sometimes it's a pretty significant buy down. Sometimes it's credit towards closing costs. So you're getting an interest rate buy down. Maybe they're buying it down temporarily for a year or two, plus they're covering all of your closing costs. It just makes it a lot easier to get into a home. So there are options for you if you do need to move. And, if you want to know more about that, you want to talk about that, and we want to get information about what some of those incentives look like, make sure that you reach out to us. We're happy to share that information with you. So the next thing we're going to talk about is going to be supply and demand. And we subscribe to something called the Cromford Report here in Phoenix. And the Cromford Report is basically, it is our housing data that has been analyzed by housing analysts. This is all they do. They're very good. And they take this information and they put it together on these beautiful, wonderful charts so that we can learn from them and see all of this data in very easy to read charts and share that information with you. So give me a second. We'll pull that up and we'll go into what supply and demand is doing and how that's affecting our market. So I'm sure you know, because we've talked about it and it's all over the news, right? There is a massive housing shortage, not just in Phoenix, but everywhere. So locally, the typical amount of active listings that we see for the Phoenix metro area is almost 27,000. It's like 26,800 something. And the current active listings is about 10,500. So that's 2.5 times less than our normal. And we still have this huge demand for homes and a low supply. And supply and demand are going to determine price in any market. And that's true for our market as well. But, I'm sure you're hearing, oh, it doesn't make sense for prices to be this, or people are out there saying the market's going to crash. There's a bubble and it's going to burst. Well, how is the market going to crash? Is demand going to suddenly go away? Is the housing shortage overnight going to suddenly change? It's a supply and demand issue. Think about when we were going through COVID and there was no toilet paper. Whoever has the toilet paper, right? They have the supply, the demand is high, they can charge more for it. So supply and demand is always going to have a huge impact. And, interest rates are having an effect on the demand, as we just talked about, with rates hovering up around above 7%, qualified buyers are slim. So active listings are actually down 36% from last year, but they're up 6.5% from last month. And we'll get to that in just a minute and how that may affect the market long term. But it's important to look at the balance between supply and demand, not just the demand. So supply has been low for several years, aside from a brief surge last summer that was caused by panic iBuyers that were trying to dump their inventory and exit the market very, very quickly. But current supply, as we can see here, is at 49.3, is down more than demand. Our demand is still higher than that at 76.3, as you can see on this graph. So prices are holding firm. And the other thing that you need to understand is that sellers are scarce as well. Think about it. If you're a seller and your home, you have a home and you have a great interest rate, let's say it's around 3%, because when rates went so low, if you weren't buying a house, you already had one. A lot of people refinanced. So, does it make sense for you to move if you have a low interest rate of say 3% to move up in, upsize or downsize or relocate with a mortgage with a rate that's over double that? So without a large and extended increase in sellers, we wouldn't have the kind of lopsided market that causes prices to fall. So if all of a sudden, a bunch of houses came on the market, that's going to have an effect. But there's a small increase in supply, that's 6.5% compared to last month, but we're still down overall 36% from last year. So if supply continues to grow at that rate of 6.5% though, for 6 months or longer, then we could get back to close to being a balanced market. But for now, we're just seeing the kind of usual seasonal pattern that we expect to see. Here in Phoenix, supply increases from August to mid-November. That's when our weather is really beautiful. Nobody wants to go shopping when it's super hot. So we also do see less activity in higher price points like the luxury market and things like that during our really hot summer months. So let's talk about home prices, because there have been some interesting changes there as well. So 2 months ago, the median home price was $443,000, and now we're sitting right around $435,000. So there's a few factors here at play. First of all, luxury home sales in July and August are almost non-existent. We just don't have them. And that's important because, one, the prices are higher in luxury, and two, usually the square footage is higher. So that is very typical for this time of year, but it's important to know that these numbers don't include any luxury home sales. So the other thing is that the average home size dropped 3%. So this tells us that smaller homes are selling, and it's likely that a lot of these are new construction because of a couple of reasons. One, that's where the deals are right now. And two, that's where the inventory is. So new home closings are up almost 20%, 19% from July of 2023. But the median sales price for new homes was $499,900, which is down 6.3% from July. So what that tells us is home prices aren't dropping because builders never drop their prices, really. But buyers are buying smaller homes. So resale homes median price was about $445,000, so about $50,000 less than a new home. So something to consider. And it doesn't surprise me, because with the cost of things, interest rates keep going up. The higher rates are, the less home you can afford. So that's not really surprising. But let's talk about the downward momentum on the Cromford Market Index. Okay, so the Cromford Market Index, there has been downward momentum on this since mid-August. And this is important because we watch the Cromford Market Index closely, because this tells us kind of what's going on in the market right now. So when you hear like national news, or sometimes people will get on YouTube and talk about this and that, and like the Case-Shiller Index just came out, that data is like 3 months old. So we're like already been there, done that. The Cromford Market Index is something that we watch very closely because if there's going to be changes in our market, this is where we're going to see them. So there has been a little bit of downward momentum since the middle of August, and you know, the advantage that sellers have over buyers is beginning to disintegrate a little bit. So when that 30-year fixed rate stays above 7%, demand for resale homes is so weak that it's not even enough to eat up the small number of new listings that we get on the market each week. So available supply is starting to grow, which is good. Okay, so at 155, that's where we're at right now with the Cromford Market Index. That still has a long way to fall before we arrive at a balanced market, which you know is 110. However, each day that it moves lower, it does strengthen the bargaining power of active buyers who can actually in a position to afford a home. So real estate is super hyper local, and that's something that you really need to keep in mind, because if we give you general information, right, and I wanted to keep this update a little bit more general and tell you overall what's going on in the market versus looking at specific cities. If you want specific information for Scottsdale, because what's going on in Scottsdale is not going to be the same as what's going on in Surprise or Sun City or Mesa or Gilbert or Chandler or wherever, right? There's going to be a lot of differences within each little area. You know, there's supply and there's demand, and you know, prices are different in different areas, and people move into different areas for different reasons. So if you want specific information, please reach out. We are happy to put together that information for you, whether we jump on a Zoom call and we go over it, whether we have a phone call. We can make a quick video like this. We can give you specific information, tell you what it all means based on whatever your goals are. But whether you're moving in a week, a year, it doesn't matter to us. Make sure that you reach out, call, text, DM us, book a Zoom call with us, or you know, you can DM us on social media as well. Before you go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell so you'll get notified every single time we drop a new video, and that way you can continue to learn about the market here in Phoenix and what it's like living in Phoenix. Until next time.